Something unusual is about to unfold in the sky, and for many people it will pass unnoticed. To them, it will look like another ordinary day, another ordinary alignment, another moment that seems small, quiet, and easy to ignore. But for a certain type of soul, this moment will feel completely different. It will feel like something inside them has suddenly shifted, not dramatically, not loudly, but unmistakably. Because when Venus and Saturn meet in the sky, something rare begins to happen within the human experience. And this particular conjunction carries an energy that does not reach everyone in the same way. Some people will feel nothing at all, but others will feel as if a long chapter of pressure, patience, and quiet endurance is finally reaching its turning point, almost like a door that has been slowly forming behind the scenes. And now, for the first time, it is beginning to open. If you have been feeling a strange sense of inner preparation lately, like something has been building beneath the surface of your life, this moment may explain why. Because the Venus-Saturn conjunction does something that very few astrological alignments can do. It brings desire and discipline face to face. Venus represents what we love, what we value, what we long for, and what brings meaning into our lives. Saturn represents structure, responsibility, patience, and the long path of growth that most people try to avoid. When these two energies meet, something powerful happens. Desire is no longer allowed to remain a dream, and discipline is no longer allowed to remain a burden. Instead, the two begin to merge into something much more transformative. But here is the important part that most people miss. This conjunction does not activate the same way for everyone. In fact, it is known for being extremely selective. Not because the universe is unfair, but because Saturn does not respond to wishes. Saturn responds to readiness. And readiness is not something that appears overnight. It is built slowly through choices that no one else sees. Choices made when it would have been easier to quit. Choices made when progress felt invisible. Choices made when patience felt exhausting. For the people who have been walking through that kind of quiet growth, the Venus-Saturn conjunction often becomes a breakthrough point. Not because something magical suddenly appears out of nowhere, but because the effort they invested finally finds a moment where the universe can meet them halfway. And that moment begins with a simple realization. You start to recognize that your time, your energy, and your emotional attention are far more valuable than you once believed. Things that once felt normal may suddenly begin to feel different. Certain conversations may start to feel draining. Certain habits may begin to feel heavy. Certain relationships may start to reveal patterns you could not clearly see before. This is not negativity. This is clarity. Because Saturn has a way of removing the illusions that Venus sometimes allows us to live inside. Where Venus wants beauty, connection, and harmony, Saturn quietly asks one powerful question. Is it real? Is it strong enough to last? Is it aligned with the person you are becoming? And when these questions begin to rise within you, the answers may surprise you. You may realize that some parts of your life were built more on comfort than on truth. You may realize that certain expectations you carried were never truly yours to begin with. And you may begin to see something else as well. Your own strength. The kind of strength that does not come from excitement or temporary motivation, but the kind that comes from endurance. Because one of the hidden gifts of Saturn is that it reveals the resilience people did not know they had. Many people spend years believing they are weak, uncertain, or incapable of handling difficult paths, until Saturn arrives. And suddenly, life asks them to step into responsibilities they once feared, decisions they once avoided, growth they once postponed. And something remarkable happens during that process. Instead of collapsing under the pressure, they discover that the pressure is shaping them. It sharpens their thinking. It strengthens their boundaries. It clarifies their priorities. And slowly, almost without noticing it, they become someone capable of carrying more than they ever imagined. That is the type of soul the Venus-Saturn conjunction is looking for. Not the loudest voice, not the most visible success story, but the person who kept going even when their progress was invisible. The person who continued growing even when no one was watching. The person who chose patience instead of shortcuts, because Saturn recognizes that kind of integrity. And when Venus stands beside Saturn, something beautiful happens. The rewards that once felt distant begin to move closer. Not suddenly, not recklessly, but steadily. This is why many people feel an unusual sense of seriousness during. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. You may find yourself becoming more protective of your time, more selective with your attention, more aware of the energy you allow into your inner world. This does not mean you are becoming distant. It means you are becoming intentional. And intention is one of the most powerful transformations a human being can experience. Because once you become intentional, your life stops being shaped by random circumstances. It begins to be shaped by conscious choices. You start noticing where your energy flows. You begin recognizing which environments nourish you and which ones slowly drain you. And perhaps most importantly, you begin trusting your own inner guidance more than outside expectations. For some people, this shift will feel uncomfortable, because growth often requires letting go of identities that once felt familiar. But for others, it will feel like relief. The kind of relief that comes when you finally stop pretending to be someone you have already outgrown. And this is where the true breakthrough energy of the Venus-Saturn conjunction begins to appear. It appears in the moment you stop negotiating your worth, the moment you stop shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's comfort, the moment you realize that depth, patience, and discipline were never weaknesses. They were preparation. Preparation for the kind of life that cannot be built through shortcuts. Preparation for the kind of love that requires maturity. Preparation for the kind of purpose that only reveals itself after you have proven you can carry it. Because Saturn never gives someone more than they can handle. But once Saturn knows you are ready, it begins to unlock opportunities that once seemed impossible. And Venus ensures that those opportunities are not only stable, but meaningful. You may find yourself feeling drawn toward visions of the future that once felt too big to imagine. Dreams you quietly placed aside years ago may suddenly return to your awareness. Goals that once felt unrealistic may begin to look achievable, not because circumstances magically changed overnight, but because you changed. The person you have become is no longer the same person who doubted those possibilities before. And when desire meets readiness, something extraordinary happens. Dreams stop being fantasies. They begin becoming plans. Plans become commitments, and commitments begin turning into reality. But the most powerful part of this alignment may not be what begins. It may be what ends. Because every Saturn alignment closes doors that no longer belong in your future, patterns that have completed their lesson, attachments that have served their purpose, responsibilities that were never truly yours to carry. Sometimes the most powerful breakthrough is not gaining something new, it is finally releasing something old. And when that release happens, space appears. Space for healthier relationships, space for deeper purpose, space for the life that was quietly waiting for you to become ready. So if you have been feeling like your journey has been slower than everyone else's, if you have ever wondered whether your patience would ever lead somewhere meaningful, if you have ever felt like your effort was invisible, this moment may carry a message for you. The universe was not ignoring your progress, it was strengthening your foundation, because the strongest lives are not built quickly, they are built carefully. And now, as Venus and Saturn stand together in the sky, something rare is beginning to unfold. The quiet work is being recognized, the patience is becoming power, and the breakthrough you once hoped for may finally be closer than you think. But only certain souls will recognize it when it arrives. The question is, will you? As this Venus-Saturn conjunction continues to unfold, something deeper begins happening beneath the surface of everyday life. At first, the changes are subtle. You may not notice them immediately, but over the next few days, and sometimes even weeks, a strange sense of clarity begins to rise inside you, almost like a quiet voice that suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. This voice doesn't shout, it doesn't panic, it doesn't rush you. Instead, it calmly begins revealing truths that have been waiting patiently in the background of your life. Truths about your relationships, truths about your priorities, truths about the person you are slowly becoming. And what makes this moment so powerful is that these realizations don't come from outside influence. They come from within, because Saturn is not a planet that convinces you through excitement. Saturn convinces you through understanding. It allows you to see things exactly as they are, without distortion, without illusion, without emotional fog. And when Venus stands beside Saturn, that clarity touches the most sensitive areas of the human experience: love, value, desire, self-worth. Many people spend years navigating these areas with uncertainty. They search for validation in places that cannot give it. They chase connections that cannot grow. They compromise pieces of themselves simply to maintain peace. But during a Venus-Saturn conjunction, something remarkable begins to shift. Suddenly, the need for approval starts fading. The urge to please everyone begins dissolving, and the desire to live honestly becomes stronger than the desire to be liked. For some people, this will feel uncomfortable, because honesty has a way of exposing situations we once tried to tolerate. But for others, it will feel like a long-awaited moment of freedom. Freedom from pretending, freedom from explaining themselves, freedom from shrinking their depth just to make others feel comfortable. And that is exactly the kind of transformation Saturn respects. Because Saturn has never been interested in appearances. It is interested in authenticity. There are many people in the world who appear confident, wise, or successful on the surface, but Saturn is not impressed by surfaces. Saturn looks for something deeper: consistency, integrity, the quiet strength that comes from doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And the people who have been living with that kind of quiet discipline often don't realize how powerful they actually are. They are used to being overlooked, used to being underestimated, used to watching others move ahead quickly while they themselves take the slower road. But what they may not realize is that Saturn's road is never about speed. It is about stability, because everything that grows quickly can collapse just as quickly. But what Saturn builds slowly becomes almost impossible to destroy. That is why so many people experience their greatest breakthroughs during Saturn alignments. Not because Saturn suddenly becomes generous, but because the structure they have been building finally becomes strong enough to support something bigger. And when Venus stands beside that structure, something beautiful happens. What once felt like sacrifice begins transforming into reward. The patience you practiced begins revealing purpose. The discipline you maintained begins attracting opportunity. And the self-respect you quietly developed begins changing the way others treat you. People may start noticing a difference in your presence, not because you are trying to prove anything, but because genuine confidence has a very different energy. It does not need to announce itself, it simply exists, and others can feel it. This is one of the most surprising effects of the Venus-Saturn conjunction. It quietly changes the way you carry yourself, the way you walk into rooms, the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you respond to challenges. Things that once felt intimidating may suddenly feel manageable. Situations that once made you doubt yourself may begin to feel like opportunities for growth. And for the first time in a long time, you may notice something else as well. A sense of calm certainty about your future. Not the loud, exaggerated confidence that comes from temporary excitement, but a grounded, steady belief that you are exactly where you need to be in your journey. Because Saturn has a unique way of revealing something most people spend years searching for. Purpose. Not the kind of purpose that appears overnight, but the kind that slowly forms through experience, reflection, and resilience. And when that purpose begins revealing itself, your decisions start changing. You stop chasing every opportunity. You start choosing the right ones. You stop reacting to every opinion. You start trusting your own perspective. You stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline. You begin honoring your own pace. And that shift alone can transform the entire direction of a person's life. Because the moment you stop competing with the world is the moment you begin aligning with your own path. And that alignment is exactly what this Venus-Saturn conjunction is encouraging. It is not pushing you toward chaos. It is guiding you toward clarity. It is reminding you that the life meant for you will never require you to abandon your values. It will require you to strengthen them. It will require you to stand by them. It will require you to trust them even when others don't understand them. Because the path of depth is rarely crowded. But the rewards waiting at the end of that path are unlike anything shortcuts can offer. And for the souls who have been quietly walking that road, something extraordinary may soon begin unfolding. The recognition they never asked for may begin appearing. The opportunities they once believed were out of reach may begin moving closer. And the life they once imagined only in silence may begin forming right in front of them. But only if they continue doing one thing, remaining true to the person they have become. Because Saturn does not reward perfection. Saturn rewards commitment. And the commitment you have shown to your growth may be exactly what this cosmic alignment has been waiting for. You may notice that your time feels too valuable to waste on situations that bring no meaning. And while these changes may feel surprising at first, they are actually signs of maturity. Because maturity is not about becoming serious or rigid. It is about becoming intentional. It is about understanding that every moment of your life carries value. And once you recognize that value, your decisions begin reflecting it. You choose conversations that inspire you. You choose environments that support your growth. You choose relationships that respect your depth. And perhaps most importantly, you choose a future that aligns with your true self rather than someone else's expectations. That is the breakthrough energy of the Venus-Saturn conjunction. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is deeply transformative. It changes the way you see yourself, it changes the way you see the world, and it changes the way you move through your life. Some people will resist this shift. They will try to return to old habits, old patterns, old identities. But the souls who recognize this moment will do something different. They will trust the transformation, they will embrace the clarity, and they will step forward into the version of themselves that Saturn has been preparing all along. Because sometimes the universe does not bring breakthroughs by adding something new. Sometimes it brings breakthroughs by revealing the strength that was already inside you. And once you see that strength clearly, nothing about your life remains the same. The doors that once felt closed begin opening. The doubts that once felt overwhelming begin fading. And the future that once felt distant begins moving closer. Not because luck suddenly appeared, but because you became ready. And readiness is the most powerful force in the universe. So, if you feel a quiet sense of change unfolding inside you right now, if you feel a growing awareness that your life is shifting in ways you cannot fully explain, do not ignore it. This may be the very moment the Venus-Saturn conjunction was meant to awaken within you. A moment where patience becomes power, where discipline becomes destiny, and where the quiet soul who refused to give up finally steps into the breakthrough they were always meant to experience. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on something. Sometimes the universe whispers before it speaks loudly, and right now, it may be whispering directly to you.